Hello, my name is Jeff Rolka. I want to thank you for checking out my video. This is about tonal onsets, the beginnings of phrases, and it has been some time since I've done a video that focuses in any great detail on this particular subject matter. This subject matter, that of tonal onsets, will be important to you if power, continuity of tone quality, proper intonation, or a seamless transition across the secondo passaggio are important to you. If any one or any combination thereof, those elements, is important to you, well, then these exercises may help. I have chosen to do this video in a slightly different format than normal. Instead of doing 5 separate videos, what I've done here is I'm going to do the exercises for each individual FOC, and I'll tell you which ones they are as I go through them. I'll do each of the individual FOCs one by one throughout the course of the video. If you want to skip ahead to your FOC, if you know your FOC, which is to say your vocal designation like baritone, tenor, alto, soprano, etc. If you know your FOC, then in the description I got the times and you can just skip ahead. But here's the thing, and this is part of the reason why I've included these all in this one video, is that sometimes it's a little bit hazy as to exactly where the secondo passaggio may be. And the exercises are going to be specifically focused on the zona di passaggio, that area of transition. That's where we stand to learn the most about our voices. So you might find that even though you generally identify as being an alto, that some of the mezzo key areas are right for you as well. Because quite frankly, there's an awful lot of overlap in the FOCs. So you can benefit and experiment with them a little bit. And I wanted to facilitate that in the hopes that it would be very, very helpful and easy to do within the context of a single video. So there you go. Now, this video is not specifically a warm-up video, though you could use these exercises to warm up. You can skip ahead, but I would advise you to at least go through the explanation once so you understand the dynamics and what we're looking for in these exercises. If you skip it and go straight to the vocalizations, the patterns will be familiar, and I'm sure that you can sing them, but it's how you do it and what to listen for that is going to help you get the most from these exercises. And I will keep the explanation as short as I possibly can. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead here. A couple things. If you were on my newsletter, I deleted that whole email list. So unfortunately, you won't be receiving my newsletters any longer. If you would like to receive them in the future, go to jeffrolka.com and you can sign up for the newsletter there. Additionally, that will get you access to my AAA method, which is my free online fundamentals course. You can check that out. There's like a couple dozen videos or something that are specific to the course. And it's a step-by-step method to get things going and make sure your fundamentals are in good shape. Thank you for all the support that you listeners and watchers offer to me, be it through Patreon or your contributions. It is really greatly appreciated, and it is what keeps this train a-truckin'. Sort of mixed metaphors there. It's my way of saying thank you. I appreciate you. So, with that in mind, what's the zona di passaggio? The zona di passaggio is an area of transition. Why is it important? It's important because it is the incremental changes that we do through the zona di passaggio that facilitate a smooth transition over the secondo passaggio. So if I'm singing here, now I started in purely my chest voice, and then where I finished, I was actually going from my chest voice to my head voice and back. But we practice those incremental adjustments so we get as consistent tone quality as possible. One of the best exercises that I have come across, there's 2 of them that I'm going to show you, and they are going to challenge you to work with the dynamic relationship between your vocal fold and its engagement and your airflow. It is important that both of them be working together in a coordinated fashion to get that nice smooth transition. When we do these exercises, they will sound like this. Hey, hey, hey. I have a few short notes and then a descending scale. That exercise is meant to be done on one breath. The short notes, we want them to be free and open. That may be difficult for you if you've used glottal attacks in the past. A, that on the end there, that crispy articulation, that's not the way to achieve that in an ideal fashion. And so in order to work our way around that, sometimes we have to use a bit of an H sound. Hey, hey. But ultimately, we want to work towards coordination of the beginning of the flow of air and the adduction or closure of the vocal fold. And so we want to use the H to avoid the glottal attack, but try to work towards making it silent. Hey, hey, hey. So that's neither hey, nor is it a, hey, hey, hey. We get the beginning of the flow of air and the adduction of the vocal fold to work in a coordinated fashion. We're going to be practicing these in the zona de passaggio for each respective FOC. What that means is this area of incremental change. If you have belted in the past, you may find that there are imbalances in there, that you may have more of those glottal attacks or more of a squeezed kind of tone. You can use that H to try to loosen things up and see if you can find a more balanced, even tone quality. If in the past you've inadvertently flipped over and gotten a really airy kind of falsetto tone production, hey, hey, hey. Here, still the H can help a little bit, though it might be a bit more challenging. Hey, hey, hey. Because the tendency of the H is to separate the vocal fold. Right. Let's begin baritones. Baritones, for you, the primo passaggio is going to be starting somewhere around here. So we'll begin there. And Now the second exercise is going to be rather similar, except that it has an ascending and descending scale attached to it. Our goal, in addition to everything else that we had done in this first exercise, is to try to get the fifths to match. So we're starting on the fifth. A, A, A. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want the intonation, the tone quality, all of that to match on those. The assumption here is that the short notes at the beginning of the exercise are going to help you to establish efficient, productive, quote-unquote, good phonation at that starting pitch. And by descending, we're challenging our ability to be flexible, particularly as we get further and further into the zona di passaggio. That flexibility is that contraction and elongation of the vocal folds. So we want to try and remain flexible. We're going to come down and go back up, try to make the fifths match. You will largely be successful in this if you make sure to focus on your subglottic air pressure, your engagement, and the maintenance thereof, so that the vocal fold stays released as you return to the fifth. And A, A, tenors. Let's move on up a little bit here in tessitura. Beginning here in the key of F. We'll work our way up and down. A, A, A. Try to do that exercise on one breath. And now in this next exercise, it's going to be kind of similar. The goal here is to make the fifths match. So you've got those starter tones. A, A, A. That's the fifth. A. And then we'll descend from there. So we want the fives to match. The assumption here is that the short notes and kind of feeling out the interplay between engagement, abdominal musculature and coordination of the vocal fold. Feeling out that interplay and practicing with it is going to help you get the most efficient, luscious, full-sounding tone that you can. And you want to come back to it. If they don't match for some reason, then something is changing. It will be up to you to have a listen there and see. Maybe you're too engaged at the beginning of the exercise. Maybe you're disengaging too much when you descend. Maybe your old habits of belting have got you squeezing on the ascending phrase. All of those are possible. You'll have to listen very carefully. But the exercise will sound like this. A, A, A. Again, one breath. And Altos, you have a special place in my heart. It's true. It's true. The low tones, the lusciousness of the voice, it's really a gift. It really, really is. But that gift comes at a price. In my experience of teaching, very, very frequently, the transition point between upper and lower middle voices for the alto can sometimes be as dramatic as the secondo passaggio is for the baritones and tenors. And too frequently, I think it also gets mistaken as being the secondo passaggio, that somehow the actual quote-unquote break, which is the common way of talking about the secondo passaggio, is in fact where that transition between upper and middle voices are. And that's problematic, of course, in the upper register response of your voice, but of course it also means that oftentimes you're not even getting to the upper register of your voices. So contraltos, altos, we're going to in fact do a little mini set of these exercises that focus right at the typical transition point between upper and middle voices. And then we're going to go ahead and do the zona di passaggio section of your voice, which is from the upper middle voice to the secondo passaggio and back. So, stick with me here. You're going to get 2 sets of exercises. Don't tell the other fox. Let them figure out or click through and listen to the video. Anyway, we're going to begin here. Okay? And again, you are up an octave though. And now, the next exercise, we want to keep the fifths the same. So the exercise here is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want those fives to match. And they might mismatch for any number of different reasons. It could be a decrease in engagement when you're coming down the scale that's not being reapplied as you ascend. It could be old habits on ascending phrases, which is really common. Lots of different reasons why that could go wrong. Listen to see that they're the same. It'll sound like this. Again, one breath. Again, you're up an octave from me. Now, altos, we're going to cover the area from above that transition point, that difference between upper middle voice and lower middle voice, up to the secondo passaggio. Now, I've mentioned this in a few other videos. Frequently, the area above the secondo passaggio in the contralto voice isn't always developed. But I don't know why. I mean, it's there. You can do it. It's all there for the taking. So this practice will certainly help with that. Whether you choose to go there or not, I would argue that it will still have a beneficial impact on the remainder of your range. So even if you're not generally singing in this area, everything below it will benefit from the increased balance that you learn and the way that you learn to use your voice to get it to phonate or sing effectively. So beginning again with that previous exercise, again, you're singing an octave higher than me. And just like before, we want the fifths to match. One breath if possible. And mezzos, 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 mezzos. Typically speaking, your secondo passaggio falls right about here. Give or take, individual differences can, semitone here, a semitone there. What's a semitone amongst friends? The overall function of your voice is worth considering too as you consider your FOC. But that's generally speaking about where the secondo passaggio lies. So these exercises are going to venture from about here to here. My demonstrations will be an octave lower than yours. For starters, one breath. Now mezzos in this next exercise, you have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the scale degrees, and we want to make those fifths match. Now we are going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to come back down to the tonic at the end. But the goal here is to use these short notes to set up the tonal onset at the first fifth, and then make the second fifth match the first. Now, if there are discrepancies, you're going to have to listen and see if you can evaluate your voice and distinguish what's causing the discrepancies. Some very common causes are old habits. So if, for example, you have belted in the past, then it's quite likely that you can maintain more vocal fold engagement on your ascending lines than is entirely advantageous for a smooth transition across the secondo passaggio. If that's the case, then using those short starter tones to try to release a little bit more, and you can release more by being more engaged down here, by focusing your attention down here, then you can work towards getting a more productive balance to facilitate that transition. You got to listen carefully, practice carefully. Again, starting here, one breath. You're up an octave from me. And sopranos. Oh, oh, sopranos, you songbirds. Here's the funny thing about sopranos. Especially if you've had training in the past, it's quite likely that the secondo passaggio is no big deal. That in fact you sing past it without realizing it very much, if at all. It's very similar to like baritones and tenors singing across the primo passaggio. And that transition for you can often be very tricky. So I am going to still cover what I said I was going to cover at the beginning of this video. I'm going to cover the area, the zona di passaggio, which is typically about from a fourth below the secondo passaggio to the secondo passaggio. I'm going to cover that in these exercises, but I'm also, don't tell the other fox, I'm also going to throw in a little bonus stuff, do the exercises down by the primo passaggio. And that you may find is really more challenging, particularly if you're trying to sing more contemporary stuff in the keys that they're written in, because very frequently, even with a female melody line, a female vocalist singing the melody of the pop tune or popular music, not strictly speaking pop, but pop songs, popular genres, not classical, in other words. Even with a female lead vocalist, those melodies will frequently descend below your primo passaggio, and if you haven't practiced that transition, it can really be quite tricky. So let's do what we said we're going to do here. We're going to cover your zona di passaggio to the secondo passaggio, and then I'm going to show you the primo passaggio. So for starters, we're going to begin here. You're an octave above me. And now, in the next exercise, we're going to have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the goal here is to get the fifths to match. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want that one to match the first one. The idea is that those short notes at the beginning are going to help get the right balance of airflow and vocal fold engagement. And the tone quality that you create there needs to be replicated here. It may go wrong for a variety of different reasons. You could be disengaging too much on the descending scale. That's very common. You might have a habit of gripping as you ascend phrases, and that can end up with a strained note at the top. That too is very common and could also occur. You're going to have to listen very carefully and see if you can hear what's happening. It sounds like this. Again, one breath. And qualified sopranos. Now I mentioned the primo passaggio. Typically, the primo passaggio for the soprano is here. That might seem low, and it kind of is, but there is in fact some range beneath that you can access, and I think this is particularly pertinent if you're singing popular styles. The closest comparison in terms of a demonstration from me is in fact to show you what it's like when I go from above my secondo passaggio to below my secondo passaggio. And I'm gonna make it kind of more obvious what's happening here in the hopes that that will, be a good demonstration and you'll understand what I'm wanting you to do. It's likely, if you're having trouble with this transition, that there's quite a lot of cricothyroid elongation that's taking place still in the lower middle range of your voice, and it's not effectively contracting, getting into the thyroarytenoid dominant range of your voice, which is below the primo passaggio. So what that sounds like if I force my cricothyroid muscles to stay engaged, that's what happens. Now, if I'm still learning how to do this, I'll get that rather more dramatic transition between the two. So it's not a direct comparison, but there are similarities between those two modes of phonation. Again, I'm going to center these exercises right along that. We're going to start there. I'm going to show you down an octave. And now to do the other exercise, you'll have to transition out and transition back. This can be challenging, quite frankly. It can be tempting to try to force that lower middle voice to go lower and lower. So you don't have to do that back and forth. That's not really ideal, and it's not going to give you the kind of power and presence that your voice can in fact have below that primo passaggio, which I would argue is particularly important in popular styles. That presence, tone quality, and consistency is an absolute, like a real benefit to have at your disposal. So even if it's really clunky, even if it's sort of challenging, stick with it. It ultimately gives you more options artistically by learning to make this transition. So the exercise, I'm going to show you down an octave. One last tip, sopranos. If that's proving challenging, try the exercises doing A for the starter tones and E for the scale. So it would sound like this. A, A, E. That might make that transition a little bit easier to get started with if it's really problematic. If it's not that problematic, then stick with the A vowel. Thank you so much. Thank you. Probably, sopranos, if anyone is seeing this outro, it's only you, I'm guessing. But thank you so much for watching. Take really good care of your voices. Enjoy singing, and hopefully we'll see you again. Bye.